Police to review code of conduct to strengthen the force. NRI Director says PNG's cities are growing without proper planning. And 20 children undergo vital operation.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Monday's news. Thanks for joining us. The Police Ethical Code of Conduct needs to be revisited and given more emphasis in order to minimize cases of brutality and misbehavior. Police Acting Deputy Commissioner Operations Jim Andrews says the Ethical Code of Conduct is one solution to police misbehavior. But he also says more emphasis is needed in the Police Training College and workstations.
Over the years, reports of police brutality and misbehavior by police have increased, but little has been done in strengthening the police code of conduct. Police Acting Deputy Commissioner Jim Andrews says ethical principles need to be given more emphasis in the training college and workstations. Mr. Andrews says the department will revisit and give more emphasis on ethics and acceptable codes of conduct.
But I think we have to really stress on more in the training so that can be able to change the mindset of the new coming recruits. We are not going deep into it, but I think on the long run, the management is looking at it to enforce more on that. Yeah.
It is believed the code of conduct is taught in the training college, but less emphasis is placed on it out on the beat. The department is emphasizing tougher penalties on indisciplined officers, but within the constabulary, still more effort is needed. Meanwhile, Australian High Commissioner Deborah Stokes says the Australian Federal Police can assist when necessary. She also gave assurance that Australia is willing to help during the 2018 APEC Summit.
We certainly will be doing whatever we can to help Papua New Guinea, and our Prime Minister Abbott, has made that very clear on a number of occasions. He wishes to be as helpful as we possibly can to Papua New Guinea, both with respect to policing but also in the defence area.
Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
The initial 6 months training for police officers at PNG's Bomana Training College outside of Port Moresby has now been dropped to only 4 months. This means that new police recruits who are passing out and those who will be recruited in the future will only undergo 4 months worth of training. This has received mixed reactions from senior officers within the RPNGC hierarchy, describing it as a necessary change for the good of the force.
It now takes only 4 months for new police recruits to officially pass out of PNG's only police training college at Bomana outside Port Moresby. Previously, recruits spent 6 months undergoing basic training in all areas of duty. But because of the government's push for more police officers, the department is increasing the number of new intakes and cutting down on time previously needed to get them ready for official police work.
Situation where we have to cut down from 6 months to 4 months. As I've said in my speech, that we want to build up to 10,000 by 2017. But that is not the end. They'll be out on the field to do a 12 months CAP program.
This is because the government wants to have 10,000 police officers by 2017.
Well, the Pacific Game is coming up, the APEC and other international events are taking place in Papua New Guinea, so we need manpower.
Meanwhile, the 4 months training period seems inadequate for some senior officers, while others say it is long enough.
I personally would think that 4 months would be inadequate. We need 6 months or more.
4 months is good, but the thing is that they have to maintain the discipline what they learn here.
Today, over 300 new recruits passed out of Bomana. They are among the first to undergo 4 months of basic training and consisting of 12 squadrons. However, it will take them 18 more months to perform duties as probationary constables before appointed to the rank of a constable. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
The government is not planning for critical social infrastructures in its urban developments. While Papua New Guinea's towns and cities expand, there is a lack of physical planning to effectively accommodate this growth. Director of National Research Institute, Dr. Thomas Webster, said it's an issue that needs immediate attention.
When planning new residential areas, authorities should always be mindful of the social services that must accompany a large group of people. The current system of issuing out undeveloped land to developers is not taking this critical aspect into consideration.
Where will the schools go? Where will the health facilities go? Where will the playgrounds go?
If PNG continues to grow its towns and cities without efficient physical plans, it will cause social issues that can be avoided. This can be clearly seen in the nation's capital.
Look, what you've done in the 8 and 9 mile is going to now have create a traffic jam, because everybody will be coming back into Boroko to put their kids into school, because most of the existing schools are in the Boroko area. They're crowded, but they'll even be more crowded because we haven't planned for new schools out there.
According to Dr. Webster, the only town that has a proper physical plan in place for new residential areas is Kokopo in the East New Britain province. They have plans for residential buildings and also for public amenities that is easily accessible. This is a desperate need everywhere else in the country.
So who's going to provide those? Where is the land for that?
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The National Agricultural Research Institute has increased awareness on food security and innovative ideas in agriculture. Science and researches conducted by NRI with assistance from AusAid's climate change project have been centered on addressing climate change impacts. And in recent years, moves have been taken to cater for possible droughts that may occur as a result of climate change.
The agriculture sector of Papua New Guinea revolves around subsistence farming and to a large extent has been a major contributor to the country's growing economy. But the challenge has been on the agricultural agencies that have been keeping the sector alive. At the opening of a new Farmers Research Center last week at the Yalibu station in the Southern Highlands province, the leading agriculture organization, NRI, says it is looking into the future.
Yalibu Research Center has been developed as part of an AusAid-funded project under climate change. And in Yalibu, we have identified this site as one that's vulnerable to frost mainly.
The drive is to cater to the climate change effects that are predicted to have a huge impact on a significant population in the highlands who relies on subsistence farming.
In the event that the resources are exhausted due to population pressure or frost or other climate change related stresses, people can utilize their locally available resources. What is available already in the garden, people can utilize them, add value.
In 1997, Papua New Guinea has recorded a big drought that lasted for months. Crops were destroyed and many people faced severe food and water shortage. Places like Tambul in the Western Highlands and Yalibu Pangia in the Southern Highlands province have the highest urgency to prepare for frosts and hailstorms.
Now, time this flower things come up, we got some time, we got long blood drought, dry season, rain. Now, some time we rain and plenty, some time cyclone too come up.
In 2003, the potato late blight disease also became a major problem for both farmers and agricultural agencies. Potato plants were destroyed as the disease slowly crept through most parts of the highlands region, nearly crippling the entire potato industry. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News.
And coming up after the break, children undergo cleft palate surgery and concerns over the growing number of street kids. Stay with us for those stories and more. Thanks for your company and welcome back. Eugene Moge is a 2-year-old cleft palate patient from the Western Highlands province. He is one of several cleft palate patients who were born with defects. Eugene is now recovering at the Port Moresby International Hospital after successfully undergoing cleft palate surgery.
Eugene's mother, Sarah Moge, says Eugene was affected by this deformity since childbirth. However, he could not be treated at the local hospital in Western Highlands province Sharing the same ordeals are children like Simeon and Giamelin from Morobe province. But thanks to Center of Hope for providing an opportunity for these children to undergo free surgery at Pacific International Hospital to correct their deformities.
So sick problem until Palate, Cleft, Palate, and Ram Lao sick go. I'm sick, me clean up, go on. No, something me around Lao sick.
Meanwhile, at least 20 patients undergoing surgery are discharged, while others are brought in for operation. This operation is aided by medical experts from the United States.
I gave my time as a gift for the kids in Papua New Guinea. So we don't get paid working here. We pay our own airfare. We take our own vacation just to serve your children. And the changes we see, how they repair the palate, really is the consolation for me. That's all I ask for.
It is an annual operation conducted at PIH.
We are thankful to the Operation Open Heart team for being here, and we appreciate Pacific International Hospital team that has put in a lot of hard work in making sure that this program gets kicked off.
Eric Arupma, National MTV News.
There is an increase in the population of street kids in Port Moresby. Most of them come from broken families or at the least have no mother or father. Today, NTV News took to the streets and talked with them about their daily survival and health. Vasinatayama reports.
Street kids are a term for children experiencing homelessness who live on the streets of a city. But with many of these kids, they have a home, live with the relatives or friends, and yet they love hanging around on the streets, selling store goods to earn their income. Many of them are boys aged 6 to 16 years old. With the upcoming events that PNG will be hosting next year and in 2018, Port Moresby is seeing growing economic development. The 2015 budget that was passed in November this year has seen much of the money allocated to the upgrading of facilities and roads. On the other end, petty crime is also increasing in Port Moresby. Police boss Andy Bauer has warned the public to take precautions.
My personal experience and my encounter, yes, I can admit that we have a lot of opportunities.
Meanwhile, Peter Nicholas is just 7 years old, but he's very clever in street sales. He's from Goilala in Central Province. Peter is the last born of a family of 6 and is currently living with his parents at 6 Mile Settlement. He sells socks and cotton earbuds and earns money to provide food for his family.
Weekend go na misa weekend 150 or 160 na kam gemado na misoli.
Many of these children said their only way to make fast sales is to wash in the morning and dress up neatly to attract customers. Vasinatayama, National MTV News.
Australia has announced its support to the people of the autonomous region of Bougainville through key services. Australian Foreign Affairs Minister Julie Bishop made the announcement on her recent visit to the region. Australia will assist the autonomous Bougainville government to maintain its main road network and communications.
Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop was recently in the autonomous region of Bougainville. She met with ABG President Chief John Mommes. Ms. Bishop announced an expansion of Australia's support for the maintenance of vital road infrastructure. One of this is over 400 kilometers of its 600 kilometers main road network. About 80% of Bougainville's 300,000 population, schools, and health facilities are located along these roads. The Australian government will extend the road maintenance program into Buin in South Bougainville to help unlock the economic potential in the area.
Next year, Australia will be investing about 120 million kina here in Bougainville to ensure that we can improve the health, education, roads and safety and security of the people here in Bougainville.
Funding will also be provided to reseal roads in Arawa in central Bougainville. Ms. Bishop also launched a mobile community radio service together with President Momis and New Zealand High Commissioner Tony Fautua. Funded by the Australian and New Zealand governments, the project will increase radio reach outside of Buka Town. The mobile radio will play a key role in facilitating dialogue and debate between communities and the government. This will open a new window for a referendum on Bougainville's future under the Bougainville Peace Agreement.
Radio Placeline, this will be a great opportunity for the people of Bougainville to hear about the election for 2015 of the autonomous Bougainvillean government, and also to hear more about the peace process as Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea work closely with ABG to ensure that there is peace and prosperity in this beautiful place.
Delhi Bagu, National MTV News.
The movement of traffic within the Lae Central area at Top Town has been congested in recent months, posing risks for public movements. With Lae City seeing significant growth in economic activities, businesses have also expanded. The Lae CBD has seen an influx of vehicles in the previous months. The number of people moving into the city to do banking and access other services has also increased. This is expected to continue in the coming years following the completion of the Lae Tidal Basin project and the Lae Tanada 4-lane highway. A local landowner company, Mopong Business, has registered land to be leased to investors wanting to do business in Lae. It comes as the Lae Tidal Basin project passed its first phase of construction, improvements to roads and the prospects of tuna processing and other ventures. Yalu villagers have put out their land for development.
When Lae's shores become the destination for vessels coming from all over the world, the economy is expected to flourish. More wharf space after the tidal basin expansion means increased investor confidence. Lae will become a bustling industrial hub and land is already in very high demand.
When I can factory or when I can workshop or when I can work like a mablia, I'm still by benefiting all man, directly and indirectly.
Yalu's Mopong Landowner Group Chairman Kaputong Kolam explains a sustainable approach for two clans in Yalu. He says 145 hectares of land formerly under an agricultural lease since 1951 will be registered for commercial lease. But the difference is, compared to past experience, is the people will still own their land and benefit.
So one time this I think they may like that. Maybe have been trying all get the best to finding one can good road to make him work back come up and benefit him. All get a man into the place in the surrounding community.
Land has become widely sought after amid all the economic growth in Lae. But most have been leased out and others occupied by settlers. But for the two Yalu clans under the Mopong group, the land belongs to them and they will benefit. For Mopong, the future looks bright. When the tidal basin is completed, roads are being improved and growth is expected.
You can put him this Latin Peace Factory, you can put him sawmill, you can put him real estate, but everyone must benefit in proper ground too. You must also something also sustainable development. You must kill him culture blong man. You must kill him bush ground blong all.
The company draws its plans from the mistakes learnt in the past, where other Ahi clans sold off their land that can't be retained and has caused debates.
Behind me is another infrastructure development, the 800 million kina Lae Nadzab 4-lane highway. Once completed, this highway will go past the Mopong Land Group's land, registered as the Yalu Industrial Park. This is another advantage for the group to attract investors. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lae.
And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.388 US in the interbank market And at Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3805 US dollars, 0.4639 Australian dollars, 0.308 euro, and 45.05 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, and coffee, cocoa, and copper all closed higher, while palm oil closed unchanged and crude oil and copper closed lower. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 26 points higher, the ASX closed at 104 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 102 points higher. And still to come in international headlines, a program to warm United States relations with China. That story after these short messages. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. Turning overseas now, thousands of young Americans are taking part in a special study abroad program that immerses them in the Chinese culture. A goal of the program is to help warm the somewhat frosty relations with China, one teenager at a time.
The morning rush to school in Beijing, except this school is packed with teens from across America. Juniors and seniors spending a full year abroad in China. Was it very challenging?
In the beginning, it was extremely challenging.
Arlington, Virginia native Anthony Box is here to master Mandarin, Chinese history, and even music. Though the two-stringed erhu is pretty tricky. The School Year Abroad program allows American students to come to China and be totally immersed in the culture, but also, in a way, it's teenage diplomacy. Both the US and China hope that human interaction and understanding can help their sometimes frosty relationship. And at 17, Anthony already gets it.
We're the newer generation, so when we get older, we're going to have to deal with all these problems and stuff, and so it'd be really great for us to experience the world so we know what we have to deal with.
Anthony says he learns more outside of the classroom, where he commutes just like any other Beijinger.
Bing's kind of like a pancake, but without all of the other ingredients like syrup and sugar.
Okay, so this is your after-school snack?
Yes.
And is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I really like it.
He lives with a Chinese family and calls his Chinese host mother Mom. Before joining the program, Wang Zhang had never spent much time with Americans. Now she's hosted 3. This is close personal interaction, she says. These boys have become like my own children. Anthony's life will be all about China for a year. But he hopes to carry the lessons he's learned for a lifetime.
A candlelight vigil was held in New York City for the police officer shot and killed in an ambush attack. It's been revealed that the gunman had a long criminal record.
The shooter's onslaught of terror began Saturday morning, just before 6 a.m. in Baltimore, Maryland. Police say 28-year-old Ismail Brinsley shot and seriously injured his ex-girlfriend in her apartment hours before he would kill 2 New York police officers. Police say one of the last posts he put on social media was this: "I always wanted to be known for doing something right," he said, "but my past is stalking me, and my present is haunting me." The post followed with another ominous warning. "I'm putting wings on pigs today," he wrote. "They take one of ours. Let's take 2 of theirs." Police say the posts were flagged by authorities in Baltimore, but a message to be on alert in New York was just too late. At 2:47 p.m., without warning or provocation, Brinsley walked up to the patrol car of New York police officers Wen Jianlu and Rafael Ramos.
While sitting in a marked NYPD police car in full uniform, both were ambushed and murdered in front of 98 Tompkins Avenue in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area of Brooklyn, New York City.
Liu and Ramos never had a chance to draw their weapons. They were rushed to the hospital, where they were later pronounced dead. Immediately after the shooting, nearby officers gave chase, following Brinsley into a subway station.
While on the platform, Brinsley shot himself in the head, took his own life.
Police recovered a silver semi-automatic gun from the shooter. which they say was used in the killings. Saturday night at the hospital, more tense moments. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio shows up to pay his respects, and while walking past a row of police, officers turn their backs, demonstrating their anger towards a mayor who they say shares part of the blame for the officers' deaths.
There's blood on many hands tonight. That blood on the hands starts on the steps of City Hall in the office of the mayor.
For the family of slain officer Rafael Ramos, the focus was not on blame, but on grief. Late Saturday, Ramos's 13-year-old son wrote this on Facebook. "Today, I had to say bye to my father. I will always love you, and I will never forget you."
The wife of the gunman in the Sydney siege is tonight behind bars after her bail was spectacularly revoked in a Sydney court. A judge today watched a series of extremist videos made by the woman.
Walking into a court of unknowns.
Please leave us alone.
With her stepbrother by her side, Amira Drudis knew there was every chance she would be locked up after 12 months on bail.
Are you disgusted in your partner?
The court spent the day debating whether Drudis was an unacceptable risk to the community. Chief Magistrate Henson deciding the DPP's case was too strong and revoked Drudis's bail. The judge closed the court while he watched the videos. While this message wasn't handed up in court, it was similar.
I am a terrorist.
John Pickering, senior counsel, said the videos go to prove the state of mind to act consistently at the behest of Mr. Monis. Your Honour has to look at the risk that has to be involved for someone who holds these views. Mr. Pickering linked the videos with Drudis's murder charges, allegations that Drudis stabbed Monis's ex-wife Nolene Hasten-Powell to death and set her body on fire at Monis's request. Drudis has been on bail for murder charges for more than 12 months now. Her legal team argued the videos were irrelevant to the charge before the court, but the Chief Magistrate rejected that, saying there is an unacceptable risk that cannot be properly mitigated with the continuation of bail. The Attorney-General's intervention to review Drudis's bail is seen as a win for the government. But on the other side of politics, opposition leader John Robertson admitted he wrote to Docs on behalf of Man Monis, one of his Blacktown constituents, after Monis had sent offensive letters to the families of dead Australian soldiers.
That request was forwarded on to the appropriate department. It in no way supported or endorsed the request.
An oversight by his office or a critical lapse in judgment. The finger-pointing does little to ease the pain of the victims' families, still overwhelmed.
And that overseas report wraps up our news segment tonight. But ahead in sports, Lays Papuan Compound focuses on sports and the Port Moresby Rugby League Club commends its players. Stay with us for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Port Moresby Rugby League Club Royals knows a better way to appreciate their players' outstanding efforts both on and off the field throughout this season. In a small but significant presentation yesterday, the club's management acknowledged the players' participation this year with special reference to the true sportsmanship shown.
It was truly a nice way for the club to farewell this year's Port Moresby Rugby League season. The presentation was small but significant enough to boost confidence and commitment and to keep players focused and determined for 2015 season. The Royals Rugby League Club is one of the 3 disciplinary forces clubs participating in the Port Moresby Rugby League competition. The club made it into the preliminary knockouts but unfortunately missed the final spot to arch rivals Tarangaus in the semi-playoffs. However, that didn't stop the women from making it into the final.
Commitment you, time you, discipline you. Don't walk. Don't get up, look at those who are selected stuff aside, so you put your body on line. Monday, Tuesday, you work not block stuff. No, commitment, time, effort you save.
Players were awarded for defense, leading try scorer, and the best player of the year. Naomi Kaupa was awarded the Female Player of the Year. She doesn't speak much but was told that she's a cracker and to look out for.
Rugby League, Women's Rugby League, and come to international, which is come next year, so we look forward.
The occasion was well rewarded, according to Royals Premier skipper Michael Francis.
Events like this will motivate our players, keep them in the good spirit of rugby league, and this will encourage them to push further from where they stopped this year and advance further. So in that way, our team will be a force in the parallel.
The club will be out in full force come the 2015 season. Tere Alex, National EMTV Sports.
Youths at the Correctional Institute at Bomana have turned to sports to embrace the meaning of Christmas. A soccer tournament has been organised for the community that will see finals played on New Year's Eve. MTV's Godwineki reports.
The youths at Bomana Correctional Institute are celebrating the festive season through sport. The week-long soccer tournament that started on Saturday has brought together the community. 12 teams are taking part in the soccer competition with 6 men's team and 6 women's team. The tournament has been running for 3 years now and is sponsored by Freedom PNG Consolidate Limited with shields and trophies. The finals are expected on the 31st of December, closing with the presentations of shields and trophies. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
And stay with us, we'll have more sports updates coming up next.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Overseas now to cricket. Australia's David Warner will play in the Boxing Day test against India, saying he won't let a badly bruised thumb upset his plans. He will join Ryan Harris at the MCG tomorrow.
Nursing his little girl and a sore thumb, Dave Warner touched down in Melbourne, full of optimism.
I'll definitely be playing, yeah. I'll be doing everything I can. It's obviously a bit painful. It's the one that I broke before, but no, I'm not missing a Boxing Day test, that's for sure.
With Mitch Marsh already ruled out, it's exactly the news selectors had wished for. And a fit again Ryan Harris is expected to deliver Australia another Christmas bonus, having recovered from a quad strain.
At this stage I'm feeling pretty good, so we'll just wait until tomorrow then, so another good bowl, we'll see.
Steve Smith couldn't have dreamt of a better start to his reign as captain, but after celebrating a win, there was a loss of sorts, fined 60% of his match fee due to Australia's slow over rate. A cheeky Nathan Lyon says they've found a solution.
I think I'll just get them bowl more overs. I think Steve mentioned I was going to open the bowling, I think.
But Smith will be hoping for a better return from Brad Haddon and Shane Watson. Both men are out of form with the bat and very much under the pump. Haddon scored just 92 runs in his last 7 tests at an average of 8.36.
You look back at the last Test match series here in Australia, I think he saved us every Test match, so I think Brad Haddon's going all right.
The Aussies will hone their radars in the nets on Christmas morning, followed by the traditional lunch get-together with players' families. One to cherish for this first-time dad.
It's going to be a special one, and it's one to remember for us.
Come Boxing Day, he'll be hoping there'll be even more memories to savour.
The yachts in this year's Sydney to Hobart race will face an early test with tough conditions forecast for the first night at the race. The leading contenders will wear the brunt of the weather, making it difficult for navigators to keep their crew out of trouble.
A perfect day for a stroll around the docks, but come Friday the weather won't be so kind for the 117 Sydney to Hobart entries. Conditions for the start are promising, a light breeze and the possibility the fleet will sail up the harbour with spinnakers raised. The trouble arrives once the yachts round Sydney heads.
Some fairly strong winds, 20 to 30 knots, very choppy seas as well because the winds will be opposing the current which is running down the coast.
It's not quite the fearsome forecast of previous years, and conditions should improve from Saturday onwards. Some of the bigger boats are even looking forward to a rough ride.
In the Sydney-Hobart race, you normally get some sort of front. It's just when it is. But for us, we actually like upwind conditions, so having the front through right at start time is okay for us.
Tom Addis knows what it takes to tame the great race. For the past 2 editions, he's been the navigator on Line Honours winner Wild Oats. This year, he's been poached by arch rival Perpetual Loyal.
I was really keen to be involved in the charity aspect. We're very lucky to sail for a living, and but it doesn't actually do that much useful work for the world. But with Loyal, you get to raise a significant amount of money for kids' charities.
Taking Addis's place on Wild Oats is Juan Villa. The Spaniard is a veteran of international ocean racing, but admits he's got a few nerves guiding the 7-time champion Super Maxi.
Obviously, there's always pressure because that's a boat that the only good result is winning the race. So that's
that puts pressure on not only on me but on everyone on the boat. So they'll have to perform well.
And that's how we end tonight's True Kai Sports segment. But stay tuned, I'll give you all the weather details after the break.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather information is brought to you by Tablebirds.
For the next 24 hours in southern region, afternoon thunderstorms expected in Daru, Popondetta, Kerema and the nation's capital. In Momase, partly sunny in Ley City, rain and thunderstorms in Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, rain and thunderstorms expected in Lorengau and a shower or two in Kimbe. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres to look forward to rain and thunderstorms. And before we go, quickly recapping our top stories again tonight. Police to review code of conduct to enforce the behaviour of policemen. Also, NRI Director Dr. Thomas Webster says PNG's cities and towns are growing at an alarming rate without proper planning. And 20 children in NCD undergo vital cleft palate operation. Well, that's been National EMTV News tonight. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi, and as always, thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.